to help remove the bandage. He's very good at that. So that's important to Mike to make sure that Freed and the Braves pitching staff's ready to go for the the NLDS beginning this weekend. So we'll have Mike with us coming up. MJ Ward will be here to share his final thoughts on what was a fiery Ryder Cup over in Italy. And then in hour number 2, of course, it will be USC basketball coach Lamont Paris. We'll hear from him as he met with the media just a little while ago to talk about his basketball team as preseason camp is underway. We'll bring you some of what he had to say. He's pretty optimistic about year number 2 for the Gamecocks. Also, some Shane Beamer, going to try and work in that. We haven't heard from the USC football coach this week since they were off, but he was on the SEC conference call yesterday afternoon, and so we'll bring you most of what he had to say to kind of give you a feel for what went on with the Gamecocks during practice this week for their off week. And then Will and the Thrill, bottom of the second hour, and comments from Clemson linebacker Barrett Carter. You know, Clemson defense, we've kind of forgotten about how well they're playing because with the 2 losses, that's sort of taking the edge off the Clemson season. Now, the Tigers have a chance if they run the table to really turn things back around. But the Clemson defense, by and large, has been Clemson quality, I would say. Keep in mind, they've given up 43 points off turnovers by their offense. So their offense hasn't helped. You know, they've had some scooping scores, and have they had a pick 6? Yeah, they've had a pick 6, I believe. They put the defense in some tough situations to defend short fields because of the turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. So 43 of those points that count against the defense are the result of turnovers. So you can't pin all that on them. Still, they're top 10 nationally in total defense, which is, hey, if you're doing that, there's not much to argue with from a defensive standpoint. So Wes Goodwin should be getting some kudos for the job he's doing over there. There are 2 linebackers who you expected to be very, very good. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Barrett Carter have been all of that. They're the top 2 tacklers on the defense thus far. So we got a full boat and recruiting. Didn't get to recruiting last night because we were so busy, but we'll give you an extra dose of recruiting tonight as well here on the program. So we got a lot for you. 888-898-2525. Let's welcome in Bergie from the Bergie Palace over in Sardis. You know, I was over with Lamont Paris and the Gamecock basketball team just a little while ago. Made my way over here. By the way, this doesn't have anything to do with sports, but they have built, well, they're still building it, but half of it is ready, maybe 2/3. They have built a beautiful new parking lot outside the back door of the Colonial Life Arena. Big student it's a student and I guess on-campus students and also students who what's the word I'm looking for, who drive into campus, don't live on campus. Thank you, that's the word I was looking for. Commuter parking lot, big, beautiful looking parking lot, which was great for the media today because we could park right at the back door to the media entrance. I mean, I'm talking 20 steps and you're in the arena. But that won't be available for us, of course, on game day. That'll be used for, I'm sure, NIL donors and Gamecock Club members and all that kind of stuff. But just for today, it was very, very nice. But they've really cleaned up. Now, that back area behind the arena there was, not a very good-looking area. But they've cleaned that up, and there's a big, right down the street, I'm sure maybe connected to this parking lot. I guess they'll have their own parking garage. They're building another student housing facility, I guess, apartments or condos right there. So that whole area is being cleaned up. And, it's also part of the big plan that was unveiled, a year or so ago about doing some renovations around Williams-Brice Stadium on the outside and also that property at the Colonial Life Arena. So that hasn't gone anywhere yet beyond the talking stage. But this is in full development and almost complete. That takes me off my topic, which is Gamecock basketball for a couple of minutes here. And Mike Morgan at 6:20. They have lost. I was looking at the roster. Now, he feels very good. He feels confident. He feels like they're going to be a pretty good team. They lost half their scoring from last season. They averaged 64, and they lost 37 in three of their top four scorers, and G.G. Jackson, uh, and then Chico Carter Jr. Was a scorer for them, and Hayden Brown. Those top three guys combined to average 37 points per game of the 64 that they average. So he's got to replay some scoring, but he feels like he's got a bunch of shooters, and he feels like he's got a bunch of three-point shooters. So there's not much to speak of on the inside, I'd say, at this point. But they might be a team that will run the court, line up behind the three, and kind of play that game. Take as many threes as you can and try and make up for deficiencies by knocking down some threes.
So much over the last 15 or 20 years. Driven game anymore. It's everything outside and trying to ultimately maybe go inside on occasion. But if you can shoot it from beyond, that's your hay. And he touched on what he was talking to you guys today. He touched on how many threes they made down in the Bahamas. Now, you don't know how many wide open looks they had, how many they attempted, what kind of defense they were facing.
But, not much.
But he talked about the amount of threes that they were able to knock down. That's obviously a good sign. He sounded upbeat about his team. I've always enjoyed listening to him talk basketball because he's such a smart guy in general, and then just understands the game itself. And just listening to him anytime he visits with the media, which I wish were more often than USC makes him available. I always learn a lot of stuff listening to him. So I'm excited to see what kind of product they're going to put on the floor here in, 3 weeks?
Coming quickly.
4 weeks, yeah.
Coming quickly. All right, let me hit a couple of other notes, and then we'll hit our break and get Mike Morgan on with us here on Sports Talk. I did an update on NCAA stats from this week. And South Carolina, after last weekend's game, Gamecocks are 63rd in total offense, 79 in scoring offense, 122 in total defense, and 96 in scoring defense. This has not been a good defensive performance for them. In fact, their numbers up and down, offense and defense, don't look good. I mean, when you have a hard time blocking, when you have a hard time stopping a pass rush, when you have a hard time stopping the run, when you can't run the ball, I mean, basically, they've boiled down to a two-person offense, and that is Rattler to Leggett. And it doesn't help that Juice Wells hasn't been available. But you're seeing it now as the season goes on. You can't hide it. You are what you actually are, and I think we're starting to see it. This Florida game for the Gamecocks a week from Saturday, that's a must-win. Lose that game, they'll have a losing season. Win that game, they got a chance to salvage this season. It's always the third season. I think I said back in the summer, remember?
It sure is.
Only three, since 1960, only three Gamecock coaches have had a winning record in their third year. Holtz
and Lou Holtz had to come off the the long losing streak to do so.
Yeah, well, that's right. He had the winless first year, but then he had a winning record his second year and his third year. But then it went downhill. Brad Scott in his third year and Will Muschamp in his third year. So the backs will be against the wall. Coastal Carolina, 48th in offense, 59th in scoring, 85th in defense, and 54th in scoring. And Clemson, 27th in offense, 35th in scoring, 9 on defense, and 40th in scoring defense. Average TV viewers per college football game through week 4 nationally, your top 10, and Clemson is averaging 5.56 million per television contest. That's good for 6th in the country. Colorado State, 9.30 million followed by Colorado at $8.83 million. Of course, Colorado State benefited from playing Colorado. So
yeah, exactly.
I guess I guess that's per appearance. I guess they had that one appearance that had all that television, had all that viewership, and it puts them at the top of that list. UCF Gus Malzahn agreed to a contract extension through 2027 and going to get a raise to $5.5 million. Raised his salary to $4 million per year on July 1st, and this deal raises it to $5.5 million, 26-27. Oh, by the way, Clemson's Board of Trustees did have their meeting today. Nothing to do with conference affiliation. From everything I can gather, there is nothing happening with Clemson and conference re-affiliation somewhere else at this particular time. I mean, there might be some discussions going on internally. They might be, spitballing. They might be discussing things with the ACC commissioner. I mean, I don't know. I'm not privy to their conversations, but as far as anything imminent of Clemson up and leaving somewhere else, no, it's not happening. They don't have a go right now. Here's the thing. If it were happening, and if they had a place to go, the SEC or the Big Ten, then national reporters would have leaks from the SEC Big Ten about they were getting ready to add more teams, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, whatever the case may be. That's number one. There's been none of that. Number two, today the Big Ten released their football schedules through 2028, and Clemson's not on the list. All right. They've got 18 teams as of next year, and they released their schedules for football through 2028. Now, can they be torn up over the summer if they add more teams and tear those up and redo it? Of course they can. But right now they're planning on the 18 teams they have now through 2028. They've got their schedules. They could have set their schedules for just through 2025, let's say, but they announced through 2028. And they did a lot to try to preserve the rivalries with the teams inside the league, like, Southern Cal and UCLA. They're not going to break that up, and the other rivalries that are already within the league. So anyway, from a Clemson standpoint, nothing there at this particular time. Not saying that it won't happen eventually. Don't know that it will. Don't know that it won't. But can only tell you that nothing is happening at this particular time with that story. Okay, let's go to the break. When we come back, Mike Morgan will join us. Primarily talk about the Braves with Mike, I would say, Chris. Let's hammer him hard on the Braves and what they've got going on and getting ready for the NLDS showdown with the Phillies. You think they're scared of the Phillies?
Probably not scared, but it's probably not the matchup they wanted, considering you're playing a team in your division.
Yeah, and a very good team and a hot team. You think they should reseed the teams after the?
I thought they should. Yeah, like
after the wild cards. Yeah, talk about that. Be back in a moment.
Football season is on us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiafc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
South Carolinians, this message is for you, whether you or a loved one are about to receive Medicare or want to improve your current Medicare situation. Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare is the guy for you. This is Mike Morgan, and I've known Brian for over 20 years. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and here's what I can tell you about Brian. He's not the best-looking guy in the world. He's not a poet. He's not a very good golfer. He can't sing at all, not even in the shower. All of this is true. But here's what else I can tell you about Brian Spencer. There's no one I would trust more with that all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Palmetto Medicare is local, specific, and native to the Palmetto State. Any and all plans in South Carolina are available through Palmetto Medicare, and they offer a free annual Medicare and prescription review. So with that in mind, there's just one phone call to make, 803-960-9484. 803-960-9484. Let Brian Spencer do the one thing he is good at, helping people with all their Medicare needs.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
All right, time to get to Mike Morgan early tonight. Morgan, who is on the move, he's on the move tonight, so we are accommodating his schedule. He doesn't think much about our schedule, but his schedule we will accommodate. Brought to you by Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare, who is the guy for you. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005. For nearly 20 years, he's become the one to trust with that all-important decision on who will handle your Medicare benefits. Brian Spencer is your guy. He can be reached with a simple phone call, 903-960-9484. Consultation is free, 803-960-9484. Also the website, palmettomedicare.com. That's palmetto-medicare, palmetto-medicare.com.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No hassles, no all-day runarounds, no ridiculous add-on stickers. At Love Chevy, buying a car is fun. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
All right, now the man who has more sponsors than 2/3 of the sports talk shows in South Carolina, including this one. We welcome in Mike Morgan on the move. How are you?
Well, guys, how are you?
We're doing terrific. Let's focus on the Braves in our short time together tonight.
Sure.
And did you have a chance to look at Max Fried's blister? And did you approve him for pitching this weekend?
You know what? I did not actually put it under the microscope, but I was there. 50,000 fans for the inter-squad scrimmage. I kid you not. It was free admission. And a good chance to just kind of have a night at the ballpark when not much else was going on a Tuesday. And he actually looked pretty good, served up a couple home runs. But I think he's certainly on his way back and should be effective. I'm really more concerned about Charlie Morton, honestly. I really think Morton, with his age, for him to be banged up this time of year, it worries you a little bit. And they need him. I mean, we've talked about the one thing that could derail this team, which was so dominating in the regular season, is just to have a couple of pitchers not have it. And we've seen great teams in the postseason get knocked out, even in early rounds, because the pitching wasn't there. Now, you can't just slug your way to a World Series championship. So that offense, to me, it's not going to slow down a whole lot. But I always have a little bit of concern on just the unpredictability of pitching. And then when you include the fact that two of your top starters have been nursing injuries, that makes you a little bit nervous, if anything.
Yeah. And now the Phillies come a-calling, and here we go with the Phillies again. When they get going, I mean, they play with such a confidence level and with an air about them. Not that translates into wins automatically, but it certainly helps, and there's that intimidation factor. I don't know if that comes into play with the Braves or not, seeing the Phillies coming to town.
I think this could be as difficult a matchup as the Braves are going to have in this postseason. And, in addition to that, it's a short series, of course. It's best of 5. So the best team all season long doesn't always win in a best of 5, particularly in a sport like baseball. The Phillies have always had the roster. For whatever reason, they got off to a terrible start this year, and then they decided to to turn it on. Like Trey Turner was terrible in the first half of the year. He was terrific in the second half. They've had some injuries. All those guys are back now. You've got Schwarber, who can hit the ball 500 feet and actually did at a game earlier this year in Atlanta. You've got, Castellanos. I mean, you've got people all over the place that can slug with the best of them in that Phillies lineup. So it's a really good offense. Now, the pitching has been a little hot and cold, but again, that's picked up as well for Philly in the second half. And they're a hot team, which is what everybody wants to avoid and what everybody else wants to be. So I think it's a very intriguing matchup, and I can promise you that nobody from Brian Snitker on down would take this Phillies team for granted.
You mentioned the short series with the Phillies, Mike, and would it be better served if you're the Braves to play them at a best 4 out of 7 like in the LCS as opposed to in the LDS? And secondly, who does it favor maybe with some of the days off that are built in for the LDS? Would that actually favor the Braves, or is it going to hamper them even further because they've already been off a week or so since the end of the regular season?
Yeah, well, I mean, your first question, I think 7 without question, because I just think the more games you go, the more the better team is going to prevail. And I think the Braves have been the better team all year long. Your second question is a good one, and I wish I had a better answer because it's the old, rest versus rust type theory. Right. I don't care what sport it is. You feel like everybody wants rest, but then very often with that much time off. Now, I think that's why they're doing what they're doing, by the way. And I can't speak for the other teams. I don't know what the Dodgers have been doing this week, for example, but that is why Snitker has had these. I mean, they're treated like games. Like, it's not just throwing BP. If you go out to the stadium the last few days, and they're doing it again tonight, by the way, you've got true inter-squad scrimmages and game simulation type things. So they're trying to prevent too much rust from sinking in. But I think that's always a concern because you got a Philly team that is red hot and they don't want to stop. They don't want any rest. They want to keep going. And you got a Braves team, while the rest is good for the pitchers that we discussed, I don't know if the rest of the team really needed that much rest, to be honest with you. So I'll be very curious to see how that plays out.
Well, the Yankees will be well rested when they open in Houston.
Yeah, they will. We know that.
Open in Houston next March, and we'll be well rested, ready to go. I can tell you all
5
about
months off.
Tell you all about the rest. And I'm a Twins fan now, though. By the way, I don't know if you heard that. I don't know if that made the AP or not. Yeah, I'm a Twins fan here in the postseason.
Have you ever been to Minnesota?
Let's go Twinkies. I think I stopped there on a flight from Las Vegas to Chicago, like at 2 a.m, coming back from
that doesn't count. No,
that doesn't count. Airports don't count.
No, can't give that to you. No, not at all. Sorry, you lost your cred. You lost your Twin City cred.
Okay, Mike. Thank you for the shorty. You enjoy the night. Talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
Mike Morgan on the move. Back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. We're cooling down to a comfy 65 this evening. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine. The high tops out about 83. The weekend brings us a cold front. On Saturday, it's a mix of sun and clouds, 77 our high. While on Sunday, cooler with sunny skies and a high of just 70. Our Sunday night low dipping to 46. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Authorities in Dallas say the George W. Bush Library was shut down today for nearly 2 hours because of a bomb threat. Staff member found the threat written on a restroom wall. Police made a complete sweep of the building, determined there was no threat. The facility then reopened. The Biden administration set to build a section of a border wall in southern Texas, that in an effort to stop rising levels of immigration. In 2020, Biden promised he would not build another foot of wall if elected. U.S. military shooting down a Turkish drone today that came way too close to American troops in Syria. U.S. officials says the drone had been flying in an unsafe and, quote, unsynchronized manner. This is SRN News.
There's more than one kind of customer when it comes to Shooter's Choice. First, there's the customer who knows what's what, has a pretty good idea of what he or she likes. You're looking for a few things. First, a good selection. Yep, Shooter's Choice has a huge selection. Firearms, ammo, accessories, optics, even gun safes. You're looking for good and fair pricing. Oh yeah, Shooters has been around as your local stop forever because they treat you right. And how about customer service? Absolutely the best you'll find anywhere. The folks who work at Shooter's Choice are shooters and hunters just like you. They know their products. They can answer your question. And that brings me to the other type of customer. Someone maybe more like me. No expert for sure, but wants to learn from the right people. I don't need some big box store guy who works in the shoe department half a week, sporting goods the other half. I need the experts at Shooter's Choice who will treat me right, answer my questions as simple as they might be. They'll make my experience excellent. Online, it's shooterschoicesc.com or visit them in person on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Hi, I'm Karen Pickard.
And I'm Katie Griner.
Yeah, every Tuesday at 8:30 to 9 a.m. We'll be talking about issues that concern seniors and their families.
So join us right here on The Point Radio for the Positive Points on Aging, brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
Everything seems to be quiet.
This is Ian with AccuClean. With the holiday season and gatherings with friends and family quickly approaching, now is the perfect time to get your carpets, rugs, and upholstery cleaned. AccuClean is a veteran-owned and local carpet cleaning company located in the Midlands for over 20 years. Call AccuClean today at 803-957-1202 to make sure your carpets are refreshed this holiday season. Once
Chris,
again,
I don't know
that's
about you, man, but there's not a team out there that scares me more than the Phillies.
803-957-1202. We hope to see you soon.
Hey, Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free service. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for one of your favorites. Why would they want to play until Thanksgiving? The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. Too freaking long as it is.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7. Join me as we talk about issues that impact your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
It's cool, Pat. American market is very demanding. Not really. I just like to see.
That guy's annoying as hell. He just
might be in prison somewhere.
Stand by, Chris.
Back we are, Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. Matt Ward, MJ Ward, coming up in just a second here on the program. We have got a lot to do. We got golf. We got PGA golf, the Sanderson Farms Championship. As we're into the regular season now, the new regular season of the PGA Tour. And we got some locals up on the board. Chesson Hadley, not one of those, but he leads at 64 at 8 under. Henrik Norlander, 65, he's at 7 under. Tied for third, the former Gamecock Matt Neesmith, 6 under, 66. Then you've got also Kevin Kisner, 5 under, 67. Wesley Bryan, 5 under 67. Doc Redmond, former Tiger, 5 under through 16 holes. William McGirt, 2 under 70. Carson Young, 2 under 70. Ben Martin, 2 under 70. Chris Baker, minus 171. 2 gloves. Tommy Gainey. He is at 1 under with 1 hole to play. DJ Trahan is 1 under with 1 hole to play. Andrew Novak is in plus 173. Scott Brown, 73. And Jonathan Bird, 2 over 74. So a lot of Palmetto State products playing down in Jackson, Mississippi, the Country Club of Jackson. All right. So it's football season, and I felt like a football game broke out in Rome. I mean, I'm talking about American football, not that foreign stuff. I'm talking about football where you can use your hands and tackle people and not get a yellow card. It was rough and tumble at the Ryder Cup.
A yellow flag.
Yeah. It was rough and tumble over there. And the Americans embarrassed themselves, I think, in many, many ways for those who care about the Ryder Cup and about golf. MJ Ward, international golf rider of acclaim, joins us once again back on American soil. I think the Americans soiled themselves over there, MJ, to be quite honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you, what's really shocking is I'm getting tired of seeing Ryder Cups that are just one-sided. I think the whole fanfare of the Ryder Cup was making that Sunday singles event really exciting because of all the twists and turns that could happen. And since 2014, every one of these Ryder Cups has gone to the home team by a substantial margin. So, there really wasn't much excitement. It's sort of like watching a football team when they're ahead 40-0 or 40-10. All you're doing is playing out the string, and a lot of the people will start to. I'd be curious to see. I haven't seen it yet, but to see what the television ratings will be. I mean, clearly because of the matches came on so early in the Eastern time zone, and obviously came on even earlier in the Western Pacific time zone. I'd be curious to see what the ratings will be as opposed to when the matches are here in the States. But I personally feel, Phil, that they really need to start looking at some possible changes here. It's sort of like what you've seen happen in Major League Baseball. The television networks cannot put up with 4-hour baseball games. They just went on forever and ever and ever. And guys that step off the mound and guys that go off the plate. Golf isn't in the same vein, but it's a little bit, that needs to be looked at on the Ryder Cup side, because ultimately it's really about entertainment, and if you can't have entertainment and it's just boring, then you really lose your place in line. And the Ryder Cup has been smart in the past to make serious changes. This is not something that would be new ground, but it's something that they really should think about in doing. I even wrote about it prior to the matches because it's become apparent that the home team has been dominant, whoever they are, whether it's the Americans here or the Europeans there. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes forward in this vein, because at the end of the day, it's about putting on a product that people really want to see. And when you have a real tight match, it's about as exciting as it will ever get. But when you have blowouts, it really causes. I mean, let's be real. I mean, the issue with Joe LaCava and Rory McIlroy was about as good a theater as the whole thing produced for the entire 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if that's the storyline, that's not the storyline that the organizers really, want to see. I mean, that's a sidebar. That's that really should not have been that, or about the idea that Cantley supposedly is upset that he doesn't get paid to play in the Ryder Cup. I mean, those are not the storylines that you want to see going forward. I would be thinking that the organizers who are on both sides of the pond have to realize that it's in their best interest for both squads that they have matches that can be really more exciting. And there are a number of ways in which that can happen.
Well, what do you think the truth is in that story about Cantlay? Was he not wearing his hat because it didn't fit as he claims, or was he not wearing the hat out of protest?
This issue about players getting paid, a lot of it has stemmed from years past, and Mark O'Meara was one of the first. Mark O'Meara never became a Ryder Cup captain. A lot of people ask that. You look back at the people who were selected as captains. Well, Mark O'Meara raised the subject. And, to be fair, I know some people would jump on the players and say, hey, come on, if Walter Hagen and Gene Sarazen, going back to the very beginnings, they didn't get paid, why should you get paid? It's about playing for your country. But the reality is the organizers of the event have made a substantial amount of money, including the PGA of America and the partners that are involved on the European side. And what both of the entities decided to do was they were going to give. Obviously, all of the expenses are picked up. The players don't have to, book their airline tickets to go play. So what they did is they allocated a certain amount of money. It's about $200,000 that would go towards the players' charity that they have. And there's also an amount of money that the PGA of America can set aside on the pension side for the players themselves and for those who are on tour. So this idea about the hat not being fitted and all that, frankly, I'm amazed that Cantley would somehow. I can't really say how accurate that is because I don't have the sources to say that. I know that came forward, and once that came forward, when you're on your soil, you know what was going to happen. It was just inevitable. To Cantley's credit, he played superbly, closing out McIlroy in that match with Fitzpatrick. And the bottom line of it is he did think cuts. But, Joe LaCava's got to remember one thing. You're a caddy. You play a big role. You're only there to support your player. You really can't introduce yourself into whatever is going on. And, stepping near or close to a player's mind, and clearly the celebration was really about pent-up frustrations from what had happened previously, because much of the American golf was not really at a high level for the most part. So there was an eruption that took place. But Joe LaCava being a seasoned caddy, we're not talking about somebody who's not been around the block. This man is one of the finest in what he does. He's caddied obviously for Tiger Woods now, but he's caddied for Fred Couples, Dustin Johnson. You can't be going into it, in my opinion, you can't be going out of your way to really try to, I don't know if you want to say interfere with somebody, but really try to hurt somebody about what's going on. But both those players had fun that could have done inside the match. And I think, that whole demonstration, I think in many ways probably backfired. I think it actually motivated the Europeans more than it did the U.S. squad. But it was unnecessary. And, I would think that in hindsight, I bet if somebody asked Joe, probably should that have been handled in a different way, I bet he would say probably as the tempers and the emotions go to the side, simmer down, he'd probably say, but I can't imagine him being able to do something like that if Tiger Woods was out there playing. I just don't see that. But there's a certain role for the caddies to perform. They do a tremendous job. The top ones are the finest that go out there, but you can't do what he did and then cause the kind of commotion that becomes the main story for at least 12 to 20 hours of time frame for what went on in this match.
Recapping the Ryder Cup MT Award Hour, special guest Europe up back 16.5 to 11.5. And MJ, they did it on the backs of the foursomes, where they went 7-1 against the Americans both Friday and Saturday. To me, you talked about changing some things to make the Ryder Cup somewhat more interesting. That would be one from an American standpoint. Get that out. Clearly, we can't play golf. Why are the Europeans so much better at alternate shot than the American golf?
Well, let me expand this a little further. When we played foursomes on the American soil, we've done very well. We haven't done poorly. The imbalance, you got to give Luke Donald credit. Instead of going with 4 balls to start off, he went with foursomes play. I think Zach Johnson got out coached. I think he put some players that kind of really had a difficult time. But you got to give credit to the Europeans in outplaying the side. I think the Ryder Cup has to make some serious evaluations about, do we really need to start the most important team event with a foursomes format or a 4-ball format? I actually wrote that I think what they ought to do is increase the total amount of points from 28 to 44. And how you would do that is you start off going from 3 days to 4 days of Ryder Cup competition. And the first day, the singles. Start right out of the gate. That's what people want to see. People want to see the mano-a-mano conflicts that go on between certain players, and certainly how they would handle themselves. And then the next 2 days would be team matches like they do now. But I would increase it from 4 matches that they have each session to 5. The reason behind that is you're getting a lot of teams now where they're able to play successfully on a Ryder Cup with 5 or 6 core players. Now you can keep 4 players off to the side for each of the sessions that are involved in the team event. And I think if you increase that, you'd make more of the issue about how good a team do you have depth-wise. So not just top 5 or 6 players, but how good is your team literally from top to bottom? And have those players go out and play, the match. And then the finals would still be the same. You go with the singles on Sunday with the 12 players playing. And the reason why I say that is I still think that as much as people talk about foursomes in floorball, I think you need to have a balancing act in terms of the point allocation. So if you went with 44 points, as I'm mentioning, you would have literally 24 points on the single side and 20 points allocated on the team side. The other thing I would mention real quick, I think from now on going forward, there should not be this situation in the Ryder Cup where the team that has won has to get only the 14 points, and the team that hasn't won has to get the 14 and a half. I don't know if you guys remember, but a number of years ago, about 20 years ago, when they had a President's Cup match in South Africa, the matches ended tied, and the format that they chose was really superb. Each of the captains would choose who was going to play individually in a play-along for the entire cup. And Gary Player chose Ernie Els, and Jack Nicklaus took Tiger Woods. Well, it was exciting golf to see the 2 best players in the world play a 3-hole match. It ended tied after that. So eventually they said, okay, we're going to settle it by each team having possession of the cup. The reason why I say this is there's a number of things that can be done. You're never going to stop a team from having the capacity to win in a rout. But what you can do is you can make sure that the players that have been chosen, they're not going to be able to sit on the sidelines because the captain is trying to hide them from having played. You're going to have to put them out there, and you're going to have to see what they're able to do. So there's a number of ways the Ryder Cup, can be greater theater. And what will happen is it will only become more so when people then say, hey, I really got to see this because I really want to see this match versus the other guy. The last thing I want to mention is, because I know I'm dragging on this, but let me just say this. The last thing to do is when they announce their picks, they should do it publicly on television. So if you're the captain of a Ryder Cup team and you're the visitor playing in Rome, you announce publicly on television, seating right across from the other captain, where you're going to slot a certain player. And then the other captain chooses his player. And I think that kind of theater would really make for an interesting situation because you would then see certain strategies being played out live with the captains sitting across from each other, sort of like a chess match. Right now, they all put them in an envelope, and then they're all released at the same time. And I think this would really add to a certain amount of buzz on the night prior to when those matches are going to be played the next day. So I think that's some of the things that I would recommend.
MJ, looking ahead, not to the next Ryder Cup here at Bethpage Black, which I think may be really, really interesting, as difficult a golf course as that is, but in 2027, when it goes back to Europe and the captains, to me, going overseas, we need somebody like Newt Rockne can get the team fired up, not Zach Johnson. He just does not seem to be a guy that can inspire. Would a player like Tiger Woods be interested, do you think, in maybe being a captain? Because the emotion in which he always has played, I think would translate pretty well from a captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, from
standpoint.
A marketing standpoint, I mean, I know that until Liv came around, from what I had heard from different sources was that Phil Mickelson was going to probably captain twice and Tiger would captain twice, and each would do so once on home soil and once abroad. And maybe they would alternate in terms of being captains of those particular matches. I think that Tiger right now is the odds-on favorite to be the captain at Bethpage. I mean, he won the U.S. Open when he was on the first municipally owned golf course to host the Open. I just think that Zach did as good as he can do, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about Newt Rockne. I think there comes a point in time when you do all the analytics and you do all the talking back and forth somebody has to step up and say to somebody what needs to be said. And I know it's tough because a lot of these guys operate in a very close environment, and the team situation only happens rarely in golf. So the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup are the two examples. Much of the time, these guys operate in solo silos. I mean, for themselves. That's basically what pro golf is about. But I agree with you. I think if Tiger were brought in, I think it's very likely. Tiger has a very close relationship with J.P. McManus, the man who owns Adair Manor in Ireland. So I think if he were to come on board, it would not shock me now that if he were to do back-to-back Ryder Cups. It would all depend upon his availability and how much of a time commitment he's done. But Tiger was captain at the President's Cup matches when they played in Montreal not too long ago. So I think he's really fully expecting this to round out his resume, and it would not surprise me. I do think the Europeans will go back to Luke Donald. I think they were really happy with the way things turned out and the way he handled himself. So, yeah, I think that would probably be the order of day to really get the matches juiced up for what will be certainly a quiet affair at Bethpage.
MJ, great stuff as always, my man. We appreciate you so much. I know our golf listeners really love hearing what you have to say. Look forward to having you back with us in 2024 at all the majors and beyond. So thank you so much, and enjoy your football season. Go take in a Jets or a Giants game right down the road from you.
Well, Phil, last thing I'll say is I'll be watching the Gamecocks, man, all the way through as a alum of the school. My heart bleeds garnet and black, so I'll be watching closely.
MJ, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, MJ.
You guys have a good one. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, writes for Golf World magazine and other outlets. That's his primary outlet, which is a UK-based publication, but you can get it online, of course. He has great insight about the golf scene, not just the tournaments, but everything happening behind the scenes. Love on.
He's terrific.
Yep. We'll come back and catch up on some other notes. We got recruiting. We got some good stuff to listen to in hour number 2. Go and jump on board, 888-898-2525. Back in a moment.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. It's Palmetto Series time, so show your school spirit, feel that team pride, and get your tickets for a chance to win up to $200,000. As you know, in this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details.
Look no further than Founders Federal Credit Union for all your mortgage loan needs. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or upgrading your space, Founders has many loan options to fit your lifestyle and your budget, such as low fixed and adjustable rate and flexible terms. Plus, Founders never charges PMI, private mortgage insurance. Our mortgage loan officers are here to answer your questions and help you start the home buying process. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to apply for a mortgage today. Federally insured by NCUA, membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Equal housing lender.
Thanks again, MJ Ward, for the recap. and insight on the Ryder Cup. NFL tonight. It's a dandy. It's the Bears at the Commanders at FedEx Field, 8:15, Amazon Prime. I actually broke down, because the Packers were on last week on Amazon Prime, and I bought it, and I shouldn't have because Packers got destroyed by Detroit. But now that I've got it, I guess I'll have to watch it in between watching the latest edition of the Murdoch up on that as well. Yeah, have you followed that on Netflix?
Have not.
Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. You know, our good friend and Friday Night Star here on Sports Talk, the General, Alan Wilson. There we go. Think corn. Alan Wilson has a big part in that deal. You know, obviously.
Oh, that's right. I remember the one Friday I've been able to join you guys. You were making fun of his weight for television.
Were we? We would make fun of somebody and their appearance.
I was surprised. I was surprised as well.
Never. All right, so you got that tonight. This is day 2 of 50 consecutive days of football. Last night was scintillating with FIU and New Mexico State and Jacksonville State. That was interesting. Jacksonville State, Middle Tennessee State, 2 former Clemson offensive coordinators squaring off against one another. Rich Rodriguez with the Gamecocks and Rick Stockstill with the Blue Raiders. You ever seen the stadium at Middle Tennessee State?
I have not. I've been inside their basketball arena. I don't think I remember driving by their football facility though.
Yeah, it was. It's a nice facility. You know, it probably seats about maybe 25,000, 30,000, I guess. Right there on their campus in Murfreesboro, about 30 miles outside of Nashville. Rick Stockstill has been there a long time. He's been there a long time as their head coach.
I tell you, Jacksonville State's not a bad football team. The Gamecocks are going to have to show, the USC Gamecocks are going to have to show up for that game. Not going to just be able to roll their helmets out there and expect to blow them out.
Well, for sure. They can't blow out anybody, I don't think.
This is true.
When you consider that they lost to North Carolina, of course, and then they had to play well to beat Furman, and Furman's a quality team. And then they beat Mississippi State by a touch, and then they get handled by Tennessee. I mean, the Gamecocks have not really proved to anybody that they can walk over anybody at this point. They've got.
Well, you ran through the reasonings.
Yeah, they've got a lot of deficiencies. They got a lot of deficiencies right now, and it's hard to cover those things up at this point. Now that you're midway through the season,
they are in a line of scrimmage league. And they are losing, as Coach Ellis Johnson pointed out last night, they are losing on both sides of the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive. And Phil, quite frankly, I mean, looking at what they have forthcoming the rest of the year, they may be in a situation because they don't play well at all on the road. That's one thing Shane Beamer is going to have to solve is his inability to win games away from home. But if they don't play well at home, they're going to be in a situation where they may not be bowl eligible at the end of the season.
How will the fan base handle that?
Ooh, good question.
Something we got to talk about and think about, and we'll be back.
Someone will be right with you. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF. From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Authorities in Dallas say the George W. Bush Library was shut down today for about 2 hours because of a bomb threat. Staff member found the threat on a restroom wall. Police made a sweep of the building and determined there was no threat. He was considered the most fearsome linebacker in the history of football. Dick Butkus, Hall of Famer for the Chicago Bears, died today. He was 80. Some 50 European leaders have gathered for a summit in Spain in which they are stressing their support for Ukraine.
The sign of support for the embattled country comes at a time when Western resolve appears to be somewhat weakened. As he arrived in Grenada for the summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told reporters,
main challenge is what we have, that is to save unity
in Europe.
The election of a pro-Russian candidate in Slovakia, combined with Hungary's resistance to fully back Ukraine, have cast an increasing shadow on Europe's commitment.
Also at townhall.com, the Biden administration set to build a section of border wall in South Texas, that in an effort to stop rising levels of immigration. In 2020, Biden promised he would not build another foot of wall if elected. Today, though, he said the funding for it has already been appropriated.
Money was appropriated for the border wall. I tried to get them to reappropriate it, to redirect that money. They didn't. They wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what was appropriate. I can't stop that.
Do you believe the border wall works?
A man who wounded 10 people in a rush-hour subway shooting in New York last year sentenced to life in prison. Frank James sentenced today. He was pleading guilty to terrorism charges earlier this year for the April 2022 mass shooting. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You paying too much for term life insurance? There is a tremendous price war in the term life industry. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45, non-smoker, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month, level rate for 10 years. Or a man age 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110, level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 800-773-0433. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 800-773-0433. Remember, 800-773-0433. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker underwriting exam required to qualify. That number for Term Busters is 800-773-0433. 800-773-0433.
Surging interest rates intensifying the challenge for the U.S. economy and threatening to derail the Fed's drive to tame inflation without causing a deep recession.
Since midsummer, the yield on the 10-year Treasury note has steadily climbed. That's caused a spillover increase in other borrowing costs. The costs of mortgages, auto loans, and credit card debt have all gone up in response. The collective impact of higher rates across the country could also weaken the government's own finances.
That is correspondent Jeremy House reporting. Now, the jump in longer-term rates coincides with other threats from higher gasoline prices and this week's resumption of student loan payments. Securities and Exchange Commission seeking a court order that would compel Elon Musk to testify as part of an investigation into his purchase of Twitter, now called X. SEC made that in a court filing earlier this morning. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. We're cooling down to a comfy 65 this evening. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine. The high tops out about 83. The weekend brings us a cold front. On Saturday, it's a mix of sun and clouds, 77 our high, while on Sunday, cooler with sunny skies and a high of just 70. Our Sunday night low dipping to 46. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working. Who, me? Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, back we are. Hour number 2, Sports Talk Media Network. And as you heard, perhaps on the top of the hour news, sorry to hear about the passing of Dick Butkus, 80 years old, NFL legend, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time first-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, played the game the way it was meant to be played.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Go back to those days of Dick Butkus, Ray Nitschke, Mike Curtis, those guys that played middle linebacker in that era. And, of course, there's a bunch of others. Those are 3 that come to mind. Those were some nasty, nasty dudes, man. They played the game the hard way, didn't they?
He could not survive, I don't think, and I'm not talking about physically survive. I don't think he could survive with the rules and the amount of changes playing the way he did back in the old days, if you will. I'm not sure his style of play would translate. I think he would be an average linebacker now because you take away some of the intensity and some of the things that made him great.
Yeah, having to play so much in space, you think, would be a negative for him?
I would think so.
And guys like him, you would think. Okay, speaking of football, we'll jump right into things. Of course, South Carolina's off this week. Shane Beamer did not have a conference call Sunday, no press conference Tuesday, but he did talk with the media via the SEC conference call yesterday afternoon to update things in practice this week and update things with his team. Shane Beamer from the conference call.
Middle of the open date for us. We've had 3 good days of practice. Certainly this open date could not be coming at a better time. We're beat up, to say the least, and gives us an opportunity to get some guys healthy and some other guys that have been playing healthier, and then really to kind of just step back and reevaluate where we are after 5 games and what we need to do to perform better here these last 7 games.
What you guys have seen since you've stepped back and tried to assess things, what's sort of been the take as you guys have evaluated the first 5 games?
Yeah, a lot. You look back schematically, are we doing the things that we need to be doing in all 3 phases? It may be schematically something that we want to do that we maybe just don't have the personnel quite for right now. So we've done that in all 3 phases. You look at personnel. Are there some guys that maybe haven't been playing that can help us? This is a week to get them opportunities to see what they can do. Are there guys that have been playing that maybe would be better suited to play somewhere different at that position? Those are things you look at and really just get back to work. So I'd say there's been a lot of things in all 3 phases. I'll wait till after the Florida game to talk more specifically about those things, but certainly feel like we've gotten better as a team during these 3 days, and really appreciate the effort and the energy that our players have practiced with the last 3 days. They've been fantastic and have a great eagerness and desire to improve.
Obviously on a bye week, with your philosophies and the way you approach the game, are you preparing 2 weeks in advance for your opponent, or is this a week where you're going to go out and recruit some local talent around the country?
All the above. It's certainly a recruiting week for our staff. We, our guys will hit the road recruiting here this week. It's a week to get ourselves better. So we certainly have spent the bulk of our time on us, and we've certainly introduced Florida, to our players. I think you got to be careful about spending too much time on one opponent going into when you have 2 weeks to prepare for them. So we've introed them, but we've tried to, the same schedule that we've had the last 2 seasons during our open week, as far as meeting times, practice times, everything's a little bit shorter, but great work on the field and on the field and in the meeting room as well. And then we just finished practice this morning. Our players will be off football-wise until Sunday, and then our coaches will be able to hit the road recruiting here the rest of the week.
In terms of self-assessing, how important is kind of breaking those tendency to be equal across the plane, both offensively and defensively during this bye week, and just the self-assess, Coach?
Yeah, no, it's critical, and it's something that we try and do each week, not just wait until the open week. I mean, every game we're trying to break tendencies, whether it be how we line up to punt the ball, our team's getting a beat on anything that we're doing, defensively what we're doing, offensively with formations or play calling, whatever it might be. So we look at that every single week from a self-scout standpoint. But when you have the open week, you have more time to really, dive into that, any tendencies that you might have. But then two, how we're going to continue to get ourselves better, schematically, personnel, all the things along those lines.
With all that is changing in this sport, I noticed the D1 Council approved changes. It's not stamped and done yet, but what would the portal going from 60 to 45 days do you think, to college football, Coach?
It would help it. I think everybody's in agreement that it's the window is too long as it is. I mean, I would be in favor of just continuing to shorten it. I mean, to me, if a guy is planning on transferring from your program, he knows it when the window opens and doesn't necessarily need 45 days or 30 days or whatever it might be to figure that out. You know, for us, the season ends. We have end of season meetings with our players, and they have a pretty good idea of, you know, where they stand, and vice versa. So we always try to have open and honest communication with our players, and I think it'd be great, you know, in favor of it. And I would say most coaches across the country would say the same, and same thing for the players too. Certainly want them to have the freedom that they need to have in order to do the things that they want to do that's best for their career, but also trying to help them with that process also.
Hey, Shane, I was just curious to hear what things were looking like with some of the guys who've been banged up. And I know each guy's case-by-case basis, but do you all approach those as like rest guys or try to get them some work? How's that kind of look this week?
It's a little bit of both. You know, I mean, there's nobody on our team that we've practiced that has gone through the last 3 days where we said, okay, we're not going to let this guy get any work this week, because I told him in the locker room after the Tennessee game, I mean, this is a week we've got to work and we have to get better. But you also want to be smart. You know, when you look at defensively, Tonka and Boogie on the defensive line are pretty banged up, so they got some work this week, but it wasn't like they were taking every rep. It's an opportunity for our young defensive tackles to get work this week. You know, Trey Knox, a tight end, he practiced this week. He's pretty beat up, so we limited what he did, but then gave some of our younger tight ends opportunities to get better. You know, Spencer Rattler practiced every day this week. You know, he took a little bit of a beating the other night, but we were able to get other quarterbacks some work as well. So everyone practiced. Nobody that we said, hey, take these 3 days off and rest up. But certainly we were smart with our guys too, getting them work, but also getting them healthy.
Comments from Shane Beamer from his visit with the SEC media on the conference call yesterday afternoon. Let's go to the recruiting report here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells. Okay, it's here. You know what tomorrow is. It's not just a Friday, Pat. It is a
Roast Beef Friday. Shout out, Andy. Roast Beef Friday over at Seawells. And along with that carved roasted sirloin of beef, Seawells will also have Southern fried chicken and the fried pork chops to go along with all your local farm fresh veggies, salad bar, dessert, and gravy.
You know, you get very passionate when you talk about that. You ought to see Pat's focus when he's talking about a roast beef Friday.
I don't get to talk a lot on this show. I take the opportunities when I get them.
I just love how high-class restaurants sort of label different things and items on their menu. Carved roasted sirloin of beef.
Right.
If you didn't know that was roast beef, I mean, it would sound really, really good.
It sounds very elegant.
Obviously it is.
Yes,
exactly.
Pat's attention to that menu reminds me of the first time I looked at a Playboy. You know, you just laser focused on it. You know, you don't take your eyes off it. It's like, whoa, look at that menu. We all remember the first time we snuck a look at our first Playboy, right? Don't we?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
I played the fifth.
Latta Drug Store.
I'm a full Gary Tharp.
Smith's Drug Store in Latta, back in the corner. It was on the shelf, and you just sort of took a little peek at it. Okay, and don't forget, for the best in the catering business, the folks at Seawells will come to your rescue. SeawellsCateringSC.com, 803-771-7385 is the number. A lot to do in recruiting. Busy night for USC last night. 3 big offers handed out by the Gamecocks for classes 24 through 26. 24 receiver Braylon Staley, formerly of Aiken, now of Strom Thurmond, who's been committed to Tennessee. He got an offer from the Gamecocks, and Justin Stepp. Is it too little too late? They really didn't recruit him hard through the spring and summer. He went ahead and committed to Tennessee on June the 30th. So the Gamecocks will obviously try to turn him. He's a state champion in the triple jump. He's very, very fast. So we'll see what happens there. Then tight ends coach Jody Wright offered tight end Marshall Pritchett, 6'5", 205, native of Charleston, who attends school in Rabun Gap, Georgia. He's in the 25 class, a skilled receiver who's made himself into a tight end using Brock Bowers as his model. And he wants the football. He doesn't want to be in a situation where he's a blocker. He believes he's a catcher. He wants the ball in his hand so he can make plays. His team is 7-0 this year. He's got 30 receptions for a bunch of yards. Very excited to get the offer from South Carolina, home state school. His dad was an All-American linebacker at Notre Dame the year they won the national championship. His grandfather played at Georgia. So he has got football in his blood. He's got good friends at South Carolina. Cam Pringle, who's headed there, is one. Lanaris Sellers, he knows as well. Of course, he's already there. So he was very happy to get the offer from South Carolina. He's going to visit for the Florida game. This weekend, he's going to Miami for the Georgia Tech game. He's been to Tennessee. He was there last weekend. He's been to North Carolina. He's been to Notre Dame. And he's been to Georgia Tech. He's also going to go to Michigan November 4th, Wisconsin November 18th. He's looking at either USC at Texas A&M or Penn State, or the Penn State game on October 28th. He might attend the Ohio State at Michigan game November 25th. Other offers are Tennessee, Michigan, Purdue, Duke, Texas A&M, North Carolina, Southern Cal, Vanderbilt, West Virginia, UCF, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, Boston College, and Georgia Tech. And also the Gamecocks offered Pritchett's teammate, 2026 defensive tackle James Tank Carrington, 6'3", 275. And, of course, he's been offered from coast to coast. He's regarded as one of the top players in the 26 class. He was at Clemson for the Florida State game. He's also been to North Carolina and Georgia for games this season. 2025 offensive tackle Josh Petty, 6'5", 245, Roswell, Georgia. He's got Clemson and South Carolina on his offered list, with Georgia, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Oregon, Penn State, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Stanford, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Duke, Virginia Tech, Miami, and North Carolina. Some of the major offers for him. He's yet to get to a game this season. Prior to the season and back in the summer, he stopped at USC, Clemson, Oregon, Georgia, Auburn, Stanford, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina. He's not yet cut his list. The offensive line coaches at USC and Clemson are actively involved, so both teams are in the hunt for him. He also hears a lot from Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma, Stanford, Southern Cal, and Duke. Academics will play a big part in his decision, and some games he'd like to get to include games at Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Ohio State, and Michigan. Calhoun County wide receiver Christian Zachary, who decommitted from Virginia earlier in the week, committed to NC State. USC 2025 quarterback target Ryan Montgomery, who has been set with a visit for the Florida game, has added a visit to Auburn the end of October. Per Wes Mitchell of Gamecock Central, one-time USC defensive end Montague Rames, going to enroll in January at Coffeyville Junior College, Kansas, if he's healthy enough to do so. USC baseball picked up a pair of junior college left-handers for their 24 class. Jackson Susi from Wabash Valley, he's out of Cambridge, Ontario, was originally committed to Oregon. Wabash was second in the JC World Series last June. He was in 10 games, 3 starts, 25 innings, 37 strikeouts, 14 walks, 5.04 ERA. Left-hander Kemper Nix of Spartanburg Methodist. He's out of Spartan High. Started 5 games, made 9 appearances last season, 1-1, 4.56 ERA. There you go with the recruiting here tonight on Sports Talk. Okay, tell you what, Pat, let's roll our break over. If you don't mind, we'll make this decision while we're on the air. Let's roll that break over because I want to get to Lamont Paris. I want to have enough time here to run enough of Coach Paris, who we listened to today over at the CLA as they had a media day. So let's learn about this Gamecock basketball team as USC coach Lamont Paris took questions from the media in a gaggle format and talked first about why he feels pretty good in his second season.
Drastically different at this point than 1 year ago, and number two is not only are we older, but we were able to go on the foreign tour this summer. We played 2 games down in Bahamas, and so that always puts you ahead of the curve in terms of the 10 practices that the NCAA affords you during that time. So much different camp.
Zach Davis kind of staying off the side. Is he okay?
He is okay. Yeah, he's got something that he's dealing with right now in terms of a physical ailment that prohibited him from practicing today. But he'll be back much sooner than later.
When you're mixing in so many new players, how do you speed up the team bonding process?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think some of that is just some of it's the guys themselves and the character of the guys, and it's hard to force that. One of the things that helps it is, again, I mentioned it already, we went down to the Bahamas on one of those trips, and you play 2 games down there, and the guys think that the most important thing is how the games go, and the coaches know there are 2 things that are really important. One, that nobody gets hurt. 2, that everyone plays, and then 3, that they all have some experiences down there that help them get closer as a group, and I think we knocked it out of the park in all 3 of those different areas.
And how did you see that trip to the Bahamas? How did you see that help with building that foundation and enhancing that culture?
Yeah, they spent time. This is probably the best thing I've done. I've never done this before. I've been a part of a few of these trips, and for the first time ever, we had one day that they didn't have to be around us at all. We didn't even have a team meal. We had nothing that they had to be at, and I think that was probably the day that they spent the most time together, was that day, as it turns out. And so again, you try to put them in some environments where they're going to grow and just get closer to each other and bond. And so they were able to do that over the trip. But I thought that was a really, really important trip for us. And just because of the guys we got some good personalities, some funny guys, and just a good group. It didn't take a lot of effort for them to, I think they naturally just sort of gravitated towards one another.
What if you kind of balance the line of doing something different that maybe didn't work in year 1 or didn't work as well as you thought versus kind of staying the course and having that be part of your process?
Well, I'm a stay the course type of guy for the most part. We made some changes last year that I'm also not so hard-headed that I'm going to try to force a square peg into a round hole. So we made some adjustments midstream last year that I think really helped us from an offensive standpoint, and that was largely due to our personnel and what their strengths and weaknesses were. But we still had some things on both sides of the ball that I didn't compromise on. Those things will still be around this year. I think we'll just probably expand some things from an offensive standpoint. I think we made 16 threes in the first game down in the Bahamas and 18 threes in the second game. So, when you can generate 54 points off of just the 3-point line, that allows you some great opportunities to score the ball and open the floor and do some different things. So I'm excited about this team, excited about the group, excited about what they have an opportunity to get accomplished from a basketball standpoint.
You have quite a few players that have experience playing in the SEC. How beneficial is that going to be for you as you continue to adjust to this conference and adjust to everything that's going on, knowing that you've got players that have played on other teams you've played before already?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. We have so much more experience in so many ways. We have more experience relative to just me. We have more guys on our team that have heard my voice for a whole year and know what terminology is. We have more experience just overall in playing college games, and we have more experience with guys that have played in this league. So more guys that have contributed, that understand the speed and the pace of this league, the things that teams are trying to do in this league, the personnel that will still be back in this league. So I think that familiarity, even when you bring in a guy like Miles Studi, who's obviously been in this league for multiple years as well. So I think that bodes well for us in terms of just there won't be shock in seeing and playing on the road or seeing a specific venue or a crowd, or none of it will be new to the vast majority of our team. So that's a tremendous help.
What are expectations for you this year?
Out of Michi? Growth. I think that would be a huge part of it, is growth in some basketball ways, and more importantly in some non-basketball ways. I think I think the more he continues to grow and be comfortable with himself in some non-basketball ways, it shows up on the court for him. He's been fantastic in the preseason and in the summer so far. The growth has been just so obvious in all different ways in his personality. He's just so much more comfortable. You have a guy, and a lot of these guys find themselves in this situation. You have a guy that comes in and he's trying to prove that Chris Holtman got it wrong, right? I mean, Chris is a really good coach, but when you come from one school to another school and it didn't go the way that you wanted to, your natural instinct is to do that, and you're constantly trying to prove something. And I think he's just out of that mode in terms of trying to prove something, particularly to me and our staff. He's just trying to flourish, and it's happening, and he's growing as a player, and he's growing as an individual, and it's honestly. They pay me to do a lot of different things, but that's the part of it that's the most enjoyable for me, is to watch guys flourish and grow as individuals.
What have you seen out of some of the freshmen, Arden and Colin in particular?
I love our young group. We got a really, really talented and good young group, and I think having them in the program and growing and learning terminology and how we do things and what the expectations of how hard you play and what kind of teammate you're going to be, those things are important. And so those guys will be on the ground floor of that. But they've been great. Two local guys that are very thankful and appreciative to be here. Their families are as well. But they both have a really good foundation. They both were taught a lot at the high school level, and so they came in here, I think, ahead of the game, not only physically, but just in terms of their knowledge of the game. So really excited about them, as well as our other freshmen. Morris comes in from Finland, and he's a guy that I don't know what he weighed when he got here, but it wasn't near as much as he does now. He's gotten a lot stronger, and but he's got another guy that just has a great feel for the game. And then Austin Hero also is another guy that came in that we recruited, and I'm just looking forward to that whole group. It's a good young group. It's a great group to have behind this group of veterans that we have. I don't know. That's a good question. So here's where I stand normally on playing versus redshirting. I tell guys, I give them some input as we get closer to the first game, and then I let them make their own decision ultimately on what they want to do. But if they're not going to be a guy that I think I can get consistent minutes out of, I usually will recommend that they redshirt. I think his plan, to be quite honest with you, coming here was to redshirt just because he was, slight in his build, but he's so advanced as a basketball player that I think we're going to have a real conversation when it comes time to start playing games.
There you go, Lamont Paris sounding pretty positive there, Chris. Time will tell. Got some guards. They're just, Gray can be a dominating player, especially on the boards, if he can improve his scoring. But outside of that, inside, it's pretty thin.
Doesn't matter anymore, though. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, that could have been a problem.
True.
But if they're able to shoot the three, it's not going to really matter. Now, live in three, that used to be the old saying was no. But heck, anymore, as good as and talented as these guys are shooting the basketball, because that's all they want to do anyway. You can make a living outside the arc now, where you couldn't have 20 years ago.
And he has got plenty of long and lean guys. I guess, Michi, he's a shorty. But almost everybody else on that team, I guess Wright is
and they get their point guard back,
regular
too.
size guard. Yeah.
With Diva back.
And he's about what, 6'9"?
6'6".
6'6". Yeah, they got a lot of long and lean people. Speaking of long and lean, we've got Will and the Thrill coming up.
On Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. We're cooling down to a comfy 65 this evening. Tomorrow, more clouds than sunshine. The high tops out about 83. The weekend brings us a cold front. On Saturday, it's a mix of sun and clouds, 77 our high. While on Sunday, cooler with sunny skies and a high of just 70. Our Sunday night low dipping to 46. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm Glenn Matthews.
And I'm Melanie Matthews.
And we are the third generation owners of Modern Exterminating Company. In a time when corporate consolidation, high-pressure door knockers, and inexperienced startups are becoming the norm, isn't it nice to have an experienced, local, family-owned company that you can count on since 1955?
Modern Exterminating has been the local, independent industry leader in the pest control business for the last 67 years. Experience the local, family-owned difference for yourself at 803-765-2315 or pestfreesc.com.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. Biden administration set to build a section of border wall in South Texas, that in an effort to stop rising levels of immigration. Just 3 years ago, Biden had promised he would never build another foot of wall if elected. Today, though, the president says the funding for it has already been appropriated. In Dallas today, there were a few frightening moments at the President George W. Bush Library. It was shut down for nearly 2 hours after a staff member found a threat of a bomb on a restroom wall. Police swept through the building and determined there was no threat. There are still people who say there may never be another like him. He was considered the greatest linebacker ever. Dick Butkus of the Chicago Bears, dead at 80. This is SRN News.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Shepherd's Glass has provided commercial, residential, and auto glass installation, repair, and replacement to Columbia for over 50 years. Large retail storefronts, auto, custom shower enclosures, and mirrors for that remodeling or new construction project. Visit shepherdsglass.com to see and learn more. Now with 2 locations on Flat Springs Road in West Columbia and Chapin at 855 Chapin Road. Shepherdsglass.com.
Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charleston Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
Hey, one of the big stories of the day, of course, you probably already know about it. We hadn't had a chance to touch on it, but the NCAA approved eligibility for North Carolina receiver Tez Walker, finally. And, of course, the NCAA fired a mortar at Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill fired a grenade back at the NCAA, each blaming the other for this situation. But Tez Walker will be eligible, which means down the road, Clemson will see him. So, I want to get that out there as we welcome in for another edition of Will and the Thrill, also known as Chill, here on Sports Talk. Will former Gamecock Carl, the Thrill Chill Hill. Let's welcome in Will, feeling pretty good. Tigers go on the road, get that win up at Syracuse. Will, is everything back in good order in Tiger Town?
Well, I was just excited the fact that I heard that Phil Cardley was going to have a couple more years of eligibility at South Carolina. So, I mean, I just assumed.
As what?
Well, I mean, as a has-been, or barely was, in the wide receiver corps.
Never was. Never would be. Never was considered. Well, I'm glad that makes you happy. But what about? Let's stay focused. Okay, we'll check out your comedy act at the Greenville Spartanburg Airport next time we come through there. But what about the Tigers getting that win up at Syracuse?
Well, I thought it was a step in the right direction because, I mean, we just needed something. We needed a shot in the arm, and we got it. And I'm not saying it's the most impressive win in the whole world, but I'm saying that it was at least not a loss. I mean, at least it was something for everybody to go, okay, all right, well, this team can play. And so, I mean, Phil, I thought it was, everybody wants a win. That's what they want. They want something. And I'm not saying Syracuse is the number one team in the country, but I am saying it was a win on the road at a place where we have struggled in past. And so I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Something the Gamecocks, Carl, were trying to get up in Knoxville. Of course, they haven't won much in Knoxville. But I think the deficit is hard to swallow. I said I think the Gamecocks will play everybody pretty close, and I guess they had some chances there in the second half. It was a 2-touchdown game and all that, but still we see some deficiencies that continue in these games against the better opponents with the Gamecocks. Carl, you got to wonder if they can get it fixed this season, especially in time for Florida. I think this Florida game is the must win for this season to avoid taking a major turndown. Carl, you with us, bud?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
We were talking Gamecocks to you. When we talk Gamecocks, we're talking to you.
I forgot to take my mute off, man.
There you go.
But you're 100% right about Florida. I think Florida is a must-win game. And when you're talking about getting the problems we have right, we didn't look good against Tennessee, but going into the season, I said we would probably go 3-1 non-conference, go 1-3 on the road, and win all of our SEC home games to get us at 8-4. We still Tennessee and Texas A&M were two road losses I thought we would get. I just don't like the way we played. And about getting it fixed, I think it's real simple because it doesn't take a whole lot to get it right. First, you're on offense. You kind of have to. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. You can't try to be something that you're not. South Carolina offense is a pass to set up the run offense. We're on first down. Our biggest problem, even against Tennessee and everything we play on first down, it's the second down. It's 2nd and 11. We get no rushing yards on first down when we run the ball, so it put us behind the change. If we throw the ball to set up the run, the offense will be perfect. And I don't care about if we beat Tennessee with 62 yards, I think, last year. We beat Clemson last year with rushing under 50 yards. You don't have to have a whole bunch have to have good rushing yards at the right time. Defensively, we played. I don't want to say soft, but we coaching soft. You can't have first down situations and rushing situations when you know you can't run the football from a defensive side. Only thing we got to do to stop that, put more guys. You already got 4 against 5. They outnumber you anyway. So on normal situations, it's hard for you to win. You got to put more guys in the box to stop that running game. And then when you do that, the players just got to make plays. They got to make tackles. We can't contain a stove.
Okay, and let me stop you for a second.
Go ahead, Will.
Because I watched that game. But you've got to have the Jimmies and Joes, and South Carolina just doesn't have it up front right now. I mean, you've got to have the horses up front, and they don't have them, and so therefore they're not going to be able to run the football. Period.
Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
That's not true about not. Again, you don't need 125 yards. You need on first down to get 4, at the worst case 3 to 5 yards. And we run the Tennessee game. Every running play was, I think, on first down. 100% of the running plays was either dead up the center or a slight outside the center. And here's what everybody's going to do to beat South Carolina. They're going to, if the running on the quarterback, they're going to run the ball on first down. If he's beside the quarterback, it's a pass play, so that's back off. But if he's behind the quarterback, we're going to go after him because we're going to stop them on first down. So you got to stop them from making you do dumb stuff.
It's not 4 or 5 yards per play. It's when you get to 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2, and you can't convert a first down. That's the problem.
I would love to be in 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2. We don't ever get there.
Gamecocks are one of the worst in the country, 3rd down conversion on offense and stopping 3rd down conversion, guys. I mean, that's a terrible combination, isn't it?
And that's the whole point of what we're talking about. I'm not even talking about – I don't even know South Carolina football like you guys, but I'm telling you right now, I can see the problem.
Yes, you can, and they're multiple. But let's go back to Clemson for a moment. All right, you're feeling good. You beat Syracuse. You got Wake Forest coming in. How do you feel about Klubnik now after watching that performance? Did you see more of the cool, calm, collected quarterback you expect to see out of him?
Well, I thought he matured. I thought that he was very calm in the pocket, and that's the thing that I love to see about him is that he wasn't – he wasn't scatterbrained, and just trying to flush out of the pocket and run to the, to the sidelines. I thought he was very calm and collective. And on the road against a defense and in a dome, I thought he just did what everybody thought he was capable of doing. And he looked. To me, he looked good. I'm excited to see what he does back in Death Valley.
How do you like the play of your offensive line so far, especially considering you've lost your starting right guard? You've had some other issues. Your left tackle still kind of a revolving door over there. But how do you like the play of the offensive line?
Well, I mean, Phil, you've been around this game a long time. I mean, you understand the fact that the offensive lineman is – it's all about 5 guys playing as one. I mean, there has to be cohesion, and you know that. And so when you lose one to replace one, you have to be able to understand that. Okay, not everybody's going to make the right call. Not everybody's going to make, and then you lose 2, then you lose 3, and so I mean, it's a revolving door. Where it's a tough thing to replace everybody, but I will say this: there's talent there. I mean, there are talented guys there, and there are smart guys. And if you've got a bunch of talented and smart guys there, then they'll figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, Carl Spencer Rattler 73% completion percentage, 1,411 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, quarterback rating of 156.2. Fabulous numbers. So are you just saying, show the run sparingly, but let Rattler throw it 40, 45 times a game? Is that what you're kind of saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Here's what I'm saying. Everybody thinks third down conversions is the most important conversion chart when you're talking about downs that exist. I don't believe in that philosophy. Here's what I believe. I believe the most important down is first down. And South Carolina don't value first down. Here's what I'm saying. Instead of a run team, they're going to run the ball on first down because they can get 3 or 4 yards. We can't do that. So instead of running the ball on first down to get 3 or 4 yards, let's throw the ball on first down to get 3 to 5 yards, 3 to 6 yards. Don't use the run to set up nothing because you can't run. You got young tackles. And I'm a letterman, and I am slanted toward the letterman. I'm slanted toward the scholarship athletes that's playing for the University of South Carolina. And contrary to what that other guy just said, I think we have enough talent on this football team to win the rest of the games on our season. We just got to coach them better. You can't continue to ask freshmen on your offensive line to hold a block for a 5-yard route when everybody knows you're going to throw a 5-yard route. So you can't. You got to. When I say be a passing team to set up the run, on first down you get 4 yards. And on second down it's 2nd and 6. You can do whatever you want to. Even if you run it and don't get but a yard, you still at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. That's what you want to do as an offense, because then the defense don't know what you're doing. We're too predictable because on first down we want to run the ball, and we're unsuccessful running the football on first down, and we're in 2nd and long, and therefore everybody know you have to throw it now, and you can't have freshmen blocking anybody up front. I can put a JV team, and they know they got to do nothing but pass. Well, you can't even stop them when they put more guys than you had to block, and that's what we got to coach better to play better. We have enough talent to win out. We just got to coach better. We got to look and take this off week to figure out who we are, what we are, and how we're going to win the rest of these ball games. And we are a passing team to set up the running game. And as soon as we realize that, we're going to have some success. Just like we did last year with the last 2 games. As soon as we realize that with Spencer Rattler, he can throw a slant. You can't defend a slant. There is no way to defend a quarterback get the ball, throw a slant. It's 4 or 5 yards. I don't care if you're a man. You can't defend it. We got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Let the man do his job.
All right. Time for the rivalry meter for this week. Gamecocks 2 and 3, Tigers 3 and 2. Carl, what you got on the rivalry meter this week?
I kind of like where we are. I mean, every team we've lost to, I think that we got 1 loss. Yeah, Tennessee's lost. Everybody else is still undefeated. 5 games, 14-1. You can't be bad about your ball club when everybody they got 1 loss. I like where we are. If South Carolina was playing Clemson today, I think the spread would be about a 1.5 point favorite to the Cardinals because we're at home. So that give me about a 55% ratio this week.
55. I'd say if they were playing the Tigers, would be a 10-point favorite in Columbia right now. What's your rivalry meter reading tonight, Will?
Well, I've just been sitting here digesting everything that Carl had to say, but at the end of the day, I'm never gonna pick against Clemson ever.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
So where's it at? Where are you at this? I mean, you were at 11 out of 10. You were at 11 last time.
That's right. Well, I'm at a 12.
You're at a 12. You're getting more and more confident.
All right, I can't pick against my Tigers. I can't do that. I mean, it's not in my DNA.
A 7 wouldn't be against the Tigers. A 7 or 8 wouldn't be against it. That's 80%, 70%. That's not against for you.
That's not strong enough, Carl. Because I got to go way over I'm just not going to do it.
You have done all of that tonight and more. Guys, we thank you. Great weekend to you. We'll talk to you next Thursday. Appreciate you.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Go
Thank you,
Carl.
Carl. Thank you. And to Carl's point about the schedule, looking it up here in the NCAA stats, the Gamecocks have the number 5 schedule in the country. Against past opponents this season, their past opponents are 15-3. Their future opponents are 27-10. So that's a past opponents of 83% winning percentage. Future opponents at 73. So cumulative 42-13 for the Gamecocks. Clemson, by the way, Coastal Carolina's schedule is ranked number 9, and Clemson's is ranked number 20. So the Gamecocks' schedule drops off a little bit percentage-wise in terms of the records, but it's still pretty tough. But what they've done so far, Carl's right. I mean, they've played a tough schedule. North Carolina's undefeated. Tennessee's got 1 loss. Furman's got 1 loss.
Georgia's unbeaten.
Georgia's undefeated, yeah. So, all right, we got to run to
But
a
he
break.
does bring up really quickly. He does bring up an excellent point about their first down play calling. They've got to work on that this week because I looked it up and this is not real hard to figure out. Yeah. But they have considerably more first downs converted via pass than they do at run. You can't just line up and try and run it on first down every time and put yourself in second and long.
And the 92nd in the country in making first downs. Mm-hmm. So, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
They don't convert well. Like I said, third down offense, third down defense, been bad for the Gamecocks. Okay, going to hit the break here on Sports Talk. Thanks again to Will and the Thrill. Always great hearing from them. Be back after the break.
Hi, it's Phil Kornblut of the Sports Talk Media Network. We love our high school football in South Carolina, and we love bringing you the scores every Friday night. From 10 to midnight, we check in on every region across the state with live reports and coaches' interviews. So whether you're in your car after a game or lounging in your den, be sure to dial up the Founders Federal High School Scoreboard Friday nights right here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornblut. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson, and you're invited. It's the place to be in Tiger Town the night before every Clemson football game, home or away. Lakeside has the fantastic restaurant and bar, traditions on the lake, plus an online TV show featuring Tiger legends Joe and Jeff Boston. And we finish with the best live bands in the upstate. Be sure to check out the Hazmatics from Atlanta on September 29th and Odyssey on October 6th. It's Friday Night Live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson.
Couple of quick notes. The Duke's Mayo Bowl has created a marketplace where brands can connect with athletes to strike NIL deals. This is a way to try to lure players or give them a reason to play in the bowl game versus opting out of the bowl game. Also, this came down yesterday at Utah. Utah's Crimson Collective leasing each scholarship football player a new Dodge Ram truck, $6 million value. So every scholarship player on the Utah team gets a new Dodge Ram truck to drive as long as they're there on scholarship. If they leave, graduate, or transfer, of course, they lose that lease. Let's go to Hank in Columbia before the top of the hour ends us. Hello, Hank. Welcome in, sir.
Hey, Corn. Yeah, I wanted to comment. I think a couple of things that Carl hit on true. Carolina's going to always have bad numbers this year because partly because they're young, but also partly because look at the schedule they played the first 4 weeks. Just like Missouri is always going to have outstanding numbers any year, the 5th weekend. So is Kentucky, because if you go over the last 10 years, you look at their first 4 weeks of this year, they always have great numbers. So I think we can harp on that all year long if we wanted to. Carolina's number never going to look good. I think the team can get better, but I do believe in, like what Carl said, is you have to kind of be more predictable. You remember the year that Spurrier, he went to Savell Newton because the line was horrible at the beginning of the year. But he knew as you went throughout the year, the line would eventually get together and get better. Then he went back to Blake Mitchell about the time the team figured out what they could try to do to slow down Savell. So if you're not running it on every play, if you get 4 yards on a slant or a pass on first down, then you at least have the defense guessing. Every time Tennessee took off the other night, it was 2nd and 13, 2nd and 17. They just pinned their ears back.
Yeah, and they played. South Carolina continued to throw short in front of the chains, and Tennessee would come up and make a tackle and would lead the Gamecocks in 3rd and short, but they couldn't run it to get the first down. And so, they've got to figure out a way to convert those situations to keep drives going. Thank you, Hank. Appreciate the call. Thank you, Chris. Have a great night,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Thank you, Pat.
You
great
guys
job.
as well.
And thank you to everybody for being with us tonight. Hope you have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Local in the morning, afternoon, and evening. Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point.